जय जगन्नाथ. शुभ संध्या. नीलाद्रु संघ मध्ये सतदळ कमळे रत्न सिंहासनस्थं सर्वालंकारयुतं नवघन रुचिरं संयुतं जाग्रजेन भद्राय वामभागे रथचरणयुतं ब्रह्मरुद्रेन्द्र वन्द्यं वेदनं सारमेशं स्वजन परिवृतं ब्रह्मदारु स्मरामि. परम कारुणिक अनंत कोटि ब्रह्मांडर मौडमणि कोटि कोटि ओडियांकर हृदयर आराध्य देवता समग्र विश्व चराचर स्रष्टा आनंद कंद परमानंद सचिदानंद अखिल रसगन विग्रह विश्व वेदनार वैद्य देवाधिदेव श्री श्री जगन्नाथंकर चरण कमल रे ए अकिंचनर कोटि कोटि प्रणाम. जय जगन्नाथ. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual Guru, Lord Sri Jagannath. On the eve of this Christmas, I, DR.NAMITA PATTANAIK, the Assistant State Commissioner, ODISHA State Var Scouts and Guide, the host and convener of this 187 National Webinar, welcome all the viewers, join in one point to this Google platform. Today is 24th December 2023. And the last week of this year, 2023, the Rover Ranger Unit of Maharshi College is organizing a great event for the youth of our country in general and for the youth of our state in particular. The title being Koraput Coffee, a Cherry Tale. Now, I welcome all the dignitaries to this Google board. Respected Dr. K.P. MISHRA sir, the Vice President, Bharat Scouts and Guide India, and the State Chief Commissioner, ODISHA State Bharat Scouts and Guide, being the Chief Patron of this 187 National Webinar. Mrs. MANJU PATNAIK, the Patron of this webinar, the Principal of Maharshi College of Natural Law, Mr. DILIP from USA, will propose a vote of thanks, and my sweet DIBYANSHU, Master DIBYANSHU PADHI, will enchant the sloka. Now, it's time to have our inaugural ceremony. Prior to that, I would like to request all the members to mute their video and audio so that we have the full network. DIBYANSHU, are you there? DIBYANSHU? चतुर्भुजो जगन्नाथ कंठशोभित कौस्तुभ पद्मनाभो वेदगर्भ सुंदरसूर्यो विलोचन जगन्नाथ लोकनाथ नीलाद्रीशो परोहरि दीनबंधु दया सिंधु कृपाळु जनरक्षक. Thank you. You might be very much excited to see the young fellow who is the chief speaker and the research person of today's webinar. So I must welcome him. Virtually, you want to see. Sure. Now let's welcome our dignitary, our chief speaker of today's evening, this great evening. He is the gold medalist of +2 Commerce, BJP College in the year 2005. And he also graduated with honors uh, in the fifth, that is 5-year integrated law from NUJS, that is in Calcutta, uh, in the year 2006 to 11. And afterwards, he worked for 6 years in the banking and finance team of Luthra and Luthra, that is law office in Mumbai. He get recognition, next generation lawyer, by the eminent Legal 500 publication. But all these lines is different from the ambition of that young, energetic, and very enthusiastic, dynamic youth of Orissa, who is nothing but our Anshuman Rath. Neither follow the administrative officer path of great grandfather, Mr. Sachidanand Rath, the then IAS officer of 70s, nor the path of his father, Advocate Ramavallabh Rath, nor also the path of his kaka, the political leader, Mr. Umaballabh Rath from Puri. So he created his own path. His standpoint is very clear, to be an entrepreneur of his own choice, and that's it. So he stepped into a new assignment. He has received certification from Coffee Board of India in barista skill training. He is a Q professional and generalist from Coffee Quality Institute. Anshuman heads the Coffee Value Chairman project and work with stakeholders across the supply chain, including coffee growers, roasters, exporters, and caves. So we know he is the director of Kalinga DESI Agro Foundation, that is KDF, a social impact enterprise working to uplift the coffee ecosystem of Orissa. Now, let's listen from a great, energetic, self-made youth and the co-founder of this KDF. Now the floor is with you, Mr. Anshuman. You can go ahead and with your inspirational talk, with more information about your project, and let's see how the youth of this platform will be motivated to do something better for themselves, to stand on their own. So over to Anshuman.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the kind introduction. Thank you, everyone else, for joining in. I'll primarily use English for
Yes.
communication. If anybody needs me to speak in Odia, please let me know. Happy to communicate in whichever language is convenient for everyone.
Yes.
So, just, ma'am has already given a brief about, my academic career and how it eventually shaped into what I'm doing right now. And what I want to essentially start with is the fact that uh, see, there is a conventional understanding that your studies lead to certain kinds of careers or professions, and that is a very, we don't think twice about it. Like a person who studied law is supposed to be a lawyer. That is given. And a person who's maybe like when I studied economics, it was given that people who studied, commerce in +2, they would eventually go on to either be chartered accountants or MBAs. The first thing I wanted to tell you is that what our academic learning is, or what our academic inclination is, that need not have anything to do with what we eventually do in life. What is important is for us to understand, what we are studying and how it eventually ties in with what we are doing. So law and commerce, where we've understood the fundamentals of business, things like accounting, economics, etc. All of that has been a very useful subject for me personally in this journey. And I think what the law 5-year integrated law program did was it also opened my mind to a lot of things which I wouldn't have studied otherwise, like sociology, which is a domain of art. So it was a very holistic learning, I would say, since I made that shift from commerce to law. And working in a law firm itself opens your mind to a lot of different things, like how big businesses function, because we are essentially, I was working in a banking and finance law firm. I was supporting businesses that were taking big loans to set up big projects. So I saw how it worked from the behind the scenes perspective. So the idea was, how do I take all of this learning and do something that resonated with me? And that is a theme, I guess, which a lot of people, I think the youth in particular, is facing today. There are a lot of options, but people are not very happy with what they are doing in their lives. I think this has especially been a challenge post-COVID, because everybody has reassessed their lives after COVID, and fortunately, unfortunately, the same thing happened with this particular project. It's very recent in that sense. I'll just like quickly tell you what this entire project is all about. Kalinga DESI Agro Foundation. It is, I mean, I've mentioned that it's a social impact project, but let's be very clear, this is not a charitable or only a socially motivated organization. The idea was to create a hybrid model where we pursue impact, but at the same time, what we've understood is that for an impact to happen, there also needs to be a business supporting it. So what we wanted to do was combine the best of a profit-making business with a non-profit model which will pursue impact. So that is how, that was the genesis of why we came up with a foundation instead of just doing a private limited company or a partnership, or some of the other vehicles that are typically used for business purposes. The other part that we were very keen on, when the project was being conceptualized, was our experience as ODIs outside. Once we've gone outside, the state, we meet people from other states. We meet people from, if people who've traveled internationally, they meet people from other countries. The representation, the ODI representation outside, and the impression that people have of ODIs, it's very different, because they have not been exposed to, the idea of Odisha. So a lot of people would probably say that, Acha, okay, when I met people like some of the people that I met in college, they'd say, Odisha ki dhar hai? Is it West Bengal? Is it part of West Bengal? Like, there was a lot of information that was not available in the domain. People were not aware of what Odisha is, and people that went out from Odisha were not actively promoting the brand of Odisha in a particular way. And this was probably, again, I'm saying this is about 10 years back. I don't know how it was 20, 30 years back. I don't know how it is right now, but it was always there in our mind that, we wanted to do something, take something and make it, of such international quality, of such international standard, that people will recognize, Odisha in a very different way. And what better way to introduce Odisha to an international audience than coffee? Because coffee is something that people appreciate internationally. In fact, the larger consumers of good quality coffee are, countries in Europe, US, and more recently maybe Australia and the Far East countries of Japan and Taiwan, South Korea. So these were two aspects that we were trying to merge. One was trying to catch hold of a particular product from Odisha, which can be showcased on an international platform, and the other was somehow to create an impact with whatever we were doing, because just doing a business or trying to earn money out of it was not enough. It was very important for us to do something which was giving you the satisfaction that something is happening. What you're doing is affecting the larger ecosystem. So the way we've structured this entire setup was, again, as you mentioned, we are working with people across the coffee ecosystem, and that is how it was originally meant to be. we don't want to constrict ourselves to working. If I wanted to set up a business in coffee, people would say, why don't you set up a cafe?
Yeah.
Or why don't you set up, just a brand and sell coffees? What we wanted to do was a little more. What we wanted to do was to connect everything end to end, start from the coffee grower and see the entire chain. What happens to a coffee bean when it is produced by the coffee grower in a farm? What processes does it undergo? What value addition happens? And then finally, when it reaches the consumer who's drinking that cup and paying maybe 100 rupees,
Okay.
is
Can
that?
I
Yeah,
just
please.
add something?
Yeah.
I want you to be little back.
Uh,
Little back. You're sitting. Yes. Only
Better?
yourself. Yourself. You
Okay.
just little back. Yes.
Better?
Yeah. Now I want to share your coffee processing unit at Koraput, and why you have chosen Koraput, you must say at that time. I want to share it. Yes. Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Okay.
You can see it your video.
You can narrate, no problem.
Yeah, so basically, this is the first thing that we did last year. March 26, 2022 is the inauguration of this particular facility, which didn't exist in Odisha. We have coffee which has been grown in Odisha, and I'm not saying just Koraput. There is coffee in Keonjhar, there are coffee plantations in Kandhamal, but we did not have a processing unit of this nature until we inaugurated this one last year. And it was, of course, surprising for us that this hadn't been done in such a long time. But the entire purpose of setting up the curing works was we wanted coffee from the state to be processed within the state. Before this, what was happening was coffee was being taken by farmers and they were sending it out to Karnataka. That is where all the curing units. So this is in coffee industry, this is called a coffee curing facility, and the entire process where coffee is taken from farmer and it goes through 3 or 4 steps before it is converted into what is called green coffee beans. So green coffee beans is actually what is roasted and that is the coffee that you consume. But a farmer does not produce green coffee beans because he does not have access to this infrastructure. And what we decided to do was bring this infrastructure. Now, this infrastructure is not for our exclusive use. We are calling it a common access infrastructure, which means that any farmer in the region can approach us and we will be able to process the coffees, and we will not, I mean, the charges that we are doing is very nominal. It is, I can also tell you, like, it is competitive with what they're offering in Karnataka. And ultimately, a coffee grower, what they can do is they can sell their coffees first locally, to they can process and they can get a value addition. So when I got just in a very simple, I'll give you an example. Raw coffee prices, जो मैं parchment की cherry कहूँ छु, that is coming to about market rate. There is it fluctuates between 200 to 300 rupees per kilo. But when a farmer is able to process and move to green beans, when they become seller of green beans, the depending again on the quality, they're able to get prices between 400 to 600, 700, and if they continue improving their quality, international market rate, they can sell green coffee beans for as high as 1,000 rupees a kilo. So you can see there is a scope for a farmer to focus on coffee quality and double or triple their income by just having access to a particular infrastructure which did not exist until now. The other, the other important part that has happened because of this infrastructure is we've created a new kind of employment. There are curing works establishments in Karnataka, many of them, but because this is a very technical work that is done in the coffee industry, we are able to conduct trainings for people that are interested in learning how these machineries function, and we are able to upskill local youth to take up jobs in the industry at different levels, just by introducing them to the entire experience of how a coffee is processed. Also, at the end of this cycle, which this video will not show because it's not a mechanical process, but we have local we have specifically employed local women that come and handpick coffees, because high quality coffee requires you to remove defects, and these are not done by machines but by physically inspecting these beans. So that is another training and value addition that we are doing by use of the curing works, which is again generating direct indirect employment, putting in some money into the pockets of the families close by. And yeah, so this entire unit is doing that sort of impact in Koraput, and currently this is the only unit that is licensed by the Coffee Board of India to function. They have audited and vetted our processes, and the interesting thing is all of this we have done in-house, because we were trying to get people from Karnataka to come down and teach us how it is done. Nobody wanted to come to Koraput. So we've trained people from the local region who've learned it over a period of time. And, that's again, something that we are very happy about.
Okay. Very nice. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I can tell you again in terms of, I'll continue telling you exactly what I do personally, so that, that gives a bit of a context to, the entire work that we are doing in uplifting the coffee ecosystem. This is currently, harvest cycle is ongoing. Harvest cycle is when coffee fruits ripen, they have to be picked and processed. So, typically this is November to January. That's when coffee harvesting happens.
Okay.
During this period, what I do and my team does is we go farm to farm. We help coffee growers in understanding how to correct their picking practices, how to process it better. Because in a farm, it's not just picking. Coffee, people think coffee is a bean, but coffee is actually a fruit. It is a sweet fruit, and it needs to be picked the right way so that the final quality of the coffee in the cup comes out good. So there are different steps which happen in a farm. I encourage each and every one of you to make a trip to a coffee farm in Koraput, especially during this particular time, because a lot of people don't understand the amount of work that actually goes in a coffee farm. Work is year round, but during this period, it is hectic. Coffee is being picked from the plants, and it happens not one day. It doesn't happen. Ripening happens over different phases over 3 months. So it's an interesting sight. There are like you'll see in plantations, there'll be 20, 30 tribal pickers who will arrive at 9 o'clock in the morning, carry these bags, and it's like tea picking also. People, if they've seen tea plantations, they will know that there are these interesting bags that they will be carrying, and then they'll go and pick fruits. These fruits are collected at one place at the end of the day, and it is either pulped or it is left it is left to dry on cemented patios. It takes 14 to 21 days for coffees to dry, and then it is packed and put in it is packed and then it is put in bags for storage. At the end of the cycle, what we do again is we go farm to farm and collect coffee samples so that we understand who's done what with their coffees. Sampling again is a very difficult exercise because there are 30 kilo to 50 kilo bags, and there'll be probably hundreds of them in a storehouse. So you have to go and figure out how to collect sample that is representative of this entire lot. So it's again a day-long exercise in a particular farm where you have to go open bags individually, collect it, and then that is brought into our factory. We prepare the samples and we send it out to our coffee experts for tasting purposes. Coffee sampling happens, it's again a month-long exercise. Typically, we do it in the month of March before we start procurement in April. April onwards, April to June, we have a 3-month period when coffee comes into the warehouse and processing starts, because for 3 months to 4 months, when it starts raining, we cannot do any processing. Coffee is a very sensitive crop. It is affected by moisture. It is affected by smell. So we have to keep it under ambient conditions. So one of the advantages of having a curing works of the quality that we've set up is that it keeps coffee intact and without contamination for a long period of time. Before this, what was happening is coffee was being disposed of at one go. at the end of the year, when the harvest is ready, coffee is aggregated and sold to the buyer. Coffee, if somebody wants access to coffee of Koraput origin during the year, they will not be able to get it. Now we have made sure that Koraput coffee is available in the market throughout the year, because we are able to store it, process it, and keep it in ambient conditions. Along with the procurement, our marketing effort starts. We were, in fact, the first people to take Koraput coffee. And I will also clarify that Koraput coffee, the term Koraput coffee,
Yes.
many of you must have seen that there is a counter called Koraput coffee, which is serving coffee. That is actually a brand which is owned by Tribal Development Corporation of Odisha, TDCC. What they are doing is they are buying coffees from tribal growers, and they are processing it, and they are marketing it under their own brand. But few people will know that Koraput coffee is not just tribal coffee. There are estate-based plantations as well. And in fact, they contribute 90% of the total production of coffee in Koraput. So in fact, they have not been a lot of government policies, etc., come in, but all of that is directed towards coffee growers who are non-tribal. But if somebody says that Koraput coffee is only tribal coffee, that is not correct. We have very good quality coming out of Koraput because of these private planters. You'd be surprised to hear that we recently had a World Coffee Conference, which was attended by, it happened in Bangalore in September, which was attended by dignitaries from almost all coffee producing and coffee consuming countries. And there was a competition that happened called Flavor of India Fine Cup Award. And the Arabica coffee, which is the superior coffee species, in 3 categories, Koraput coffee, in 2 categories, Koraput coffee has won the best coffee award. And in 1 category, it is in the top 3 coffees.
Okay.
Probably it has not been highlighted, but again, all 3 of these coffees are not coffees which TDCC is supplying or buying from tribal growers. There are plantation owners who are also contributing to the brand value of Koraput coffee. So what we are doing is we are making sure that the marketing opens up to domestic and international channels. When I say domestic channels, we are working with Blue Tokai, which is the biggest specialty coffee company in India. They're all over, they're one of the most recognizable coffee brands in India. So the coffee that goes to them and they market as Koraput coffee comes from us. The other bit is Cafe Coffee Day. A lot of you people must have gone to Cafe
CCD.
Coffee Day outlets.
CCD.
They have this concept called CCD Live, where they have currently they have put up 3 coffees. One is an Ethiopian coffee, one is a coffee from their own estate, and the third coffee is Koraput coffee. That coffee comes from us. So that is something that we wanted to do, because everybody knows CCD and everybody associates coffee with CCD. Our objective was that Koraput coffee should also be present in a particular form and manner. So we are collaborating with CCD to make that coffee available. This year was the first year that a very small consignment of very good quality coffee, which we call specialty coffee, has gone to UK and to US. And by these exports are not they are not going to traders, they are going directly to roasters and to cafes that put it out. So in UK we've already had a launch. There is a company called Quarterhouse Coffee that has put this coffee out in the market. In US, we will soon have coffee from a particular plantation being launched, probably in the 2nd week of January. So that will be again something that we will try and highlight in the press and the media. But so our work is end to end. We are trying to work with coffee growers. We are trying to provide them the infrastructure so that they can produce better quality coffee and get a better realization for their coffees. We are working with direct buyers who are the roasters, and to make sure that that relationship exists and a greater amount of the money that they pay for coffee goes back to the farmer. And the final connecting point is what we've started this year is we've started supplying roasted coffee beans to cafes in Bhubaneswar. Bhubaneswar, Cuttack, Puri, there is a cafe scene, but if you go to any cafe, they don't really have coffees from Koraput. They're keeping coffees from Karnataka. So, it came in our mind that, we are the only coffee producing state that is not actively consuming coffee. Every other state that you go to, they have their own coffee drinking culture. And, it's high time that we should also, have a coffee drinking culture of our own, because we are coffee producers and we should be proud of it. So the bigger vision and the dream is that, coffees in cafes across the state should also be serving Koraput coffee, so that it's a very sustainable and healthy ecosystem that is built. So our work again is end to end. Happy to elaborate on any of these aspects, but yeah, I mean that's essentially what we are doing right now.
So this is all about your explanation. Now the question is, why you have chosen Koraput as your working place? Why not Bhubaneswar? Because it's a city capital city. So why you have chosen that?
So-
For the raw materials or for the, the skilled laborers are more trained now?
That's so, ma'am. Basically, again, I always go back to why we start something or why we do, because that it's very important to keep that in mind. And what happens in a city, when I've lived in Bombay for a long time, I know what a city consumption culture is. So in an ecosystem, there is a production side and there is a consumption side. Production side always happens in the rural parts. The consumption happens in the urban part.
Yes, that's true.
But what COVID has also taught us is that our lives can go into disarray at any given point of time. So what is essential is to keep the two things strongly connected and rooted. If the rural parts of our country do not sustain or thrive, we will not have food eventually to have in different value-added forms. If the paddy farmer in rural countryside decides tomorrow that his son needs to be a lawyer or a doctor, then who's going to do the cultivation? Who's going to give you the raw material for for your rice or whatever value-added product that you create out of rice? So coffee is a lifestyle beverage. People go, it's very easy to buy buy one sachet of instant coffee. It's very easy to go to a cafe, get a cup of coffee. But if in the long run, a coffee grower is not incentivized, and very interestingly, we are in a process of transition from first generation coffee growers to the second generation in Koraput. If the son of a coffee grower doesn't want to be a coffee grower, doesn't want to continue that plantation, then we will not have coffee to eventually drink. Our productions are going to go down. And there is, of course, climate change, which is very real. A practical example is this, just like 2 weeks back, there was heavy rainfall in Koraput region because of the after effects of the cyclone. Because of the rains, lot of damage has happened to the fruits. And this year, the production in some farms will be half of what they were expecting. And that is, how do you help a coffee grower in a situation like that? That is essentially why, Koraput is the base, because unless we support and make the production sustainable, consumption will not, it will not be able to, continue the way it is right now.
How it could be sustainable in production side is concerned, in climatic condition, it is okay, I think so. But about the sustainability, how could you feel that Koraput is better than a city?
See, purely from a production perspective, there are certain criteria which needs to be fulfilled for coffee specifically. I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I also, I would like to clarify that right now we are focusing on the production side, but the ability to provide more money to a coffee grower for the produce also comes from the consumption side. So
Yes.
parallelly, we are working in a system where we will be setting up, some form of physical infrastructure in Bhubaneswar, but it will be very different. It will be for maybe training young people to become baristas in cafes, or training people to become cafe managers, or to start their own cafes for that matter. Because more the number of cafes come up, more the number of people that drink, employment. What it'll do is it will also create a demand for coffee, and then again we are able to complete that cycle with the grower. So we will do a balance, but essentially first we are starting out with the producers. And again, Koraput is not the only base. There are 6 districts in Odisha that have been identified as being capable of producing coffees. They have the climatic condition, the elevation, the rainfall, and the soil conditions. So in addition to Koraput, there is Kandhamal, there is Rayagada, there is Gajapati, Keonjhar, and Kalandi, which can produce coffee. And in fact, I'm not sure whether you've heard of the coffee mission, which was announced earlier this year. So the state government has allocated a budget under a coffee mission program, so that coffee production in Odisha can go up by 10 times in the next 10 years. So,
can you just tell me the export, the position of export of this coffee?
So in India, it's a very interesting statistics. In India, 70%, almost 70% of the coffee is exported out. It is the same thing for tea. High quality coffee is always exported out. What we consume is what is left, because the appreciation of good coffee, good tea, and of course the money that they pay is much more outside.
Yes.
Compared to tea, of course, we are a very big tea consuming nation. But coffee, it is gradually happening. I think last 10 or 15 years or 20 years is when people have started accepting coffee. Otherwise, it was very difficult to, find coffee shops or, good quality coffee available in the market. So, and it is going to continue. In the coming year, what we project is about, it will become 50-50. Like about 50% of our production will be consumed locally, and 50% will go for exports.
Export. That's good. So far as the production is concerned, we are having land, then labor, then your investment, that is capital, and then your entrepreneurship or the organization. So far as the land is concerned, you have got the soil conservation and all about this climatic condition, all those things. But particularly, can you just tell me all these 6 tribal area, their climatic condition is soothing for the soil, or you are manipulating, or you are managing the soil with some manures or some pesticide or something else?
So, see, at any given point of time, fully organic cultivation is difficult because it reduces the yield.
Yeah.
There are organic plantations, completely organic plantations, which are working, very, very profitably in the country. But coffee in particular, it is not a native plant. Coffee plant has come from origin is Africa. So what you're doing is you're introducing a plant for commercial. It's a commercial crop again. So when you're introducing a plant which is commercial and it is non-native, then it needs an additional support. Our ecosystem is something that will obviously, it will not be accepting of coffee immediately because it doesn't know coffee. And these are all, again, like I said, first generation. The first coffee plant probably was put 30 or 35 years ago. So there is a degree of application of, fertilizers, no pesticides, of course, but manure and, the NPK fertilizers are used, and it is necessary so that coffee gives that yield. And why I'm talking about this is we can remove the fertilizers, make completely organic. Coffee will still come out, but it will not make a plantation sustainable.
Okay.
And even right now, what a coffee plantation is doing is they're doing coffee plantation along with black pepper. Black pepper is cultivated alongside coffee. So collectively, it gives money, which helps the plantation continue year on year. So if I get into the plantation side also, there are a lot of things that can be done. I'll give you an example how a coffee plantation is useful in the long term. There are a lot of coffee plantations now that are having housing and ecotourism stays within homestays. So that's an additional source of income. But without coffee, that charm doesn't exist. So what coffee does is it provides a very beautiful base for a
other type of plantation.
For a lot of other things. Yes. So agro-tourism will become very big going forward because there is coffee plantation that exists. The number 2 and most important factor, which I personally think is a coffee plantation is doing, is coffee is, again, very few people will know Brazil is the biggest producer of coffee.
Yes.
But they produce coffee in the open. They're cutting down forests, rainforests, to produce coffee because they have high elevation and all their coffee is grown in the open. India is the only country which is producing what is called shade-grown coffee. Shade-grown coffee meaning because of our particular climatic condition, coffee cannot tolerate direct exposure to the sun. So we grow trees, we grow forests. And under the canopy, coffee is grown. So what we are doing is we are creating forests to grow coffee, and at the same time, it's doing a lot of carbon sequestration. So when I travel from Bhubaneswar to Koraput, I understand what the air quality is, because I can smell fresh
Yeah.
air very differently in Koraput compared
Correct.
to what I do in Bhubaneswar. So those small things, I see again, if I go back to the basics, if we don't promote something like this, if we are not able to incentivize a coffee grower to continue doing, building forest, growing coffee, what will happen is development will happen by way of industry.
Yeah.
Koraput also, and all these belts where which we'll consider as part of the Eastern Ghats, they're also
Mhm.
mineral rich belts.
Yeah.
So Koraput also has Nalco. Koraput has a lot of bauxite.
Yeah.
What you're doing is if you're triggering socio-economic development through exploitation of mineral resources, you're damaging the environment. Whereas this is a case of socio-economic development where you're actually being environmental friendly.
Yes.
And considering how the climate change is being perceivable even in a city like Bhubaneswar, we've seen how climate has changed over time. I think it's very important that that balance is maintained. So there are a lot of other aspects to a coffee plantation than just having a cup of great quality coffee.
Yeah. One thing, in the eastern side, northeastern side, it was plantation of tea and coffee is much more than Odisha. But do you feel the climatic condition in northeastern side and in Koraput and all this tribal area is same or something different, or we are little behind, or we are just at par with them?
No, so Northeast actually, if I can use the statistics of the coffee board, Northeast, the percentage of tea is very,
Much more.
it's much more compared to coffee.
Coffee.
Two is in terms of what Odisha also produces. I'll give you a statistics. Odisha is producing annually, recorded by Coffee Board, about 400 metric tons of coffee. Andhra Pradesh, which is our neighboring state, is producing 10,000 metric tons. When I compare that to Karnataka, which is the largest producer, they are
Yes.
producing 3.5 lakh metric tons of coffee annually. So you can understand how much quantity we're actually producing.
Yes.
And the production from Northeast is probably 1/4, probably about 100 tons in aggregate. So, that is the pecking order. So Northeast is again one of the emerging coffee growing regions, just like
Yeah.
us. There is a plenty more scope. They have advantages, like there are 2-3 advantages. One is higher elevation.
Yes.
Our the hills and the elevation of the Eastern Ghats in Odisha, it's slightly lesser.
Yeah.
But what I would like to say is that is the climatic condition is not the only way in which we can produce better quality
Yeah.
coffee. There is a lot more that goes into a farm, and that is exactly the know-how is what we are trying to give to a coffee grower.
Yes.
The fact that Koraput has been able to produce 3 high-scoring coffees, which was awarded by the Coffee Board of India, that goes on to show that there is definitely something
Quality.
great about our coffees.
Quality matter. Yeah,
Yes, and there is always something about coffees which are first generation. It is the first interaction of the coffee plant with the soil and the ecosystem. Karnataka, there is coffee which is third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation, sixth generation. They have 200, 300 years of coffee growing
Tradition.
pedigree.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how much they've taken out of the soil, the nutritional imbalances, all of that will exist. Because we are in a fresh region, we are able to by default produce a very good quality
Yes.
coffee.
Okay, very nice. And regarding the capital investment for a small enterprise, if you think that it is a very small enterprise for the starting point, what would be the investment for a very new investor? Suppose he wants to start with.
So I actually can give you basic information
Yeah,
in
only
terms
basic.
of, let's say we want to enter into a coffee plantation.
Yes.
The critical factor actually is land availability, because we are talking about a region which is also, it's a lot of the land is tribal land, and there are restrictions on transfer of tribal land to non-tribal. So
Yes.
depending on where you are in that metrics, an acre of a plantation which is suitable for coffee cultivation in Koraput, I'm saying,
Yeah.
is available for as low as 1.75 lakh an acre.
Okay.
So that's actually low, because land rates, like obviously
Yeah.
you can't compare agricultural rates to
Yes.
But
This,
the same patch of land about 20-25 years ago when the coffee growers had started was about 5,000 to 20,000 rupees. So, as and when more people come in, as and when more hype is built, prices will obviously go up.
yeah.
But having said that, that is Koraput. Now we have 6 other districts. So I'm sure, if somebody wants to set up a coffee plantation, it will be much cheaper. The important part that one needs to keep in mind for a coffee plantation is it takes 5 years for the first commercially viable quantity of coffee to come out. It's a long gestation period.
Yeah.
You have to be very patient. You
Yeah.
have to build a forest. You have to wait for that first batch of coffee to come. And then, of course, pepper and, coffee, they come together. But the advantage, of course, is it's agricultural income, 100% exempted from tax. Sale of coffee also doesn't have any indirect tax. So we with as low as a 10-acre plantation, 10 to 12-acre plantation, we can have a very profitable, model that can be developed.
Yes.
So that is from coffee plantation side. But the beauty of coffee is if somebody new, a youth wants to enter into coffee, there is so much that they can do. They can start by just becoming coffee growers, but they can also be, they can become what they call roasters. Buy coffee, roast it by, make it into roasted coffee beans, and then, sell it to different cafes. People can set up cafes. People can become exporters themselves. All of that support we are able to give. We have a knowledge base with us, and we believe in a very collaborative model. So, if anybody is actually interested in, doing something in the coffee ecosystem, what we can do is we will give them a snapshot of what it is like to be an investor or a business owner, right from coffee grower stage to a cafe stage, and guide them through the entire process.
So why, after all these things, what I exactly want to tell you, the CCD, they are charging so much. Why?
Yes.
What's your view?
So there are, that's a very important question that even, currently people are questioning the cafe consumption model. But then, see, CCD is not the only place. We just know that CCD is popular.
Only one of the
But
outlet.
yes, in Bhubaneswar, you go to a cafe. Like for instance, we are supplying beans to Gailey's Cafe, and they have priced their coffee at 100 rupees. But when you want to go for a cafe experience, the thing is you are looking at CCD. Then you're looking at Starbucks. All of them are also charging for their brand. They're also charging because they're spending a lot of money on marketing. And unfortunately, that is what has happened. A lot of money is being spent on marketing, on expansion. But a price of a good cup of coffee can be 100 rupees. But there is also the concept of filter coffee.
Yes.
Filter coffee is like you go to South India, you go to any of these, darshini places that serve you, a dosa for 50-60 rupees. They have filter coffees for 15-20 rupees. And the price has remained the same for a long time. That concept hasn't come down to Bhubaneswar. We are not used to drinking, filter coffee. So that is something that I mean, going forward, if we are able to get entrepreneurs interested in that segment, we'll have easily, accessible coffees.
Okay. So regarding the investment, we can say for the land, we can have some more, some
So,
less, because if it is
let's say, like for instance, if we say a 10-acre land, you're easily spending about
Yes.
15 to 20 lakhs on the land and land related development. Your I would say very, very, I mean, of course, this is subject to reconfirmation, but about 25 lakhs to 30 lakhs is what you will end up spending overall in setting up a plantation, which again, like 5 years, you have to also take into account how much money you will be spending on labor inputs. Labor and inputs is 60% of the entire expenses involved in a coffee plantation. Once you have the plantation in place, its value is only going to go up. And there are multiple ways in which you can recover. You can create multiple revenue streams. Like I said, you can have eco stays. People are willing to pay 1,500 to as high as 5,000 rupees a night just to stay inside a forest. And that is happening. In Karnataka, plantations are charging 12,000 rupees a night for accommodation. So, coffee, sale of black pepper, you can have a lot of other crops as well. So
you can develop ecotourism.
Absolutely. So don't look at a coffee plantation as only
Yes.
coffee growing plantation, but a very integrated setup.
Yes, that should be. And one more thing, irrigational facilities, is it required much more or less?
So that's a very good question actually. It depends on what kind of coffee you're growing. So Arabica, which is the higher quality coffee, which is again in Odisha, we are only producing Arabica right now. Karnataka, in fact, produces more Robusta. Robusta and Arabica, the difference is Arabica takes more maintenance, it needs more care, but irrigation wise, it doesn't need as much because the usual rainfall patterns that we experience, that is enough for it to survive. Additional irrigation requirement is very minimal, but Robusta actually requires more of it, but less maintenance. So it's a commercial decision that people have to eventually take. If you have access to, good water facilities, then Robusta can be considered. If you don't, then, Arabica is the way to go. Yeah.
And the last question from my side regarding skilled and unskilled laborer. Do you feel that more skilled laborer are required for this project?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, that is something that will go up. People from different parts of Odisha, not particularly Koraput, but they are being hired by plantations in Karnataka. You'd be very surprised. A lot of ODIs are going to work in plantations in Karnataka. And, I met a few of these plantation owners at the World Coffee Conference. And the perspective I got was, the very fact that picking, harvesting the crop plays a very crucial role in how much money they're able to make at the end of the cycle. And that is actually, on paper, it will be an unskilled work because somebody is just going and plucking coffee fruits. But just knowing what is the right way to pluck it, what is the right maturity level to pluck, all of that effectively makes it a skilled work. And it is a source of seasonal employment for a lot of tribal pickers in Koraput. We are working very closely with the Coffee Board of India's regional office to continue improving these, these picking practices. And going forward, I have my understanding is it will become a proper part-time profession for a lot of people because during that harvest cycle of 3 months, you will need a well-trained army of people to go plantation to plantation and pick it the right way.
Okay.
So that's going to be a very important, it could be a very important role going in the future.
So cyclically, you can change the pattern of cultivation. Different crops can be developed.
Yes, absolutely.
That will
So
be
right now it is just, coffee.
3 months, then again 3 months on other things like that.
So coffee is harvesting 3 months, and after that is black pepper. So black pepper is also a very, it's a very tricky, the harvesting is very tricky because black pepper vines go up on trees and they go all the way till, 50, 60 feet. So there are very specialized people that climb up these trees to pick black pepper.
Yes.
So again, like this time, all the way till maybe March and April is a great time to go see what happens in a coffee plantation because you'd be surprised at the kind of things that happen there.
Okay, very nice. So now one person, Mr. Malay PATNAIK is there. He has some question. He has raised up his hand. Mr. Malay PATNAIK, are you there? Okay, the floor is with you. All the members, they are requested. They can put their questions relating to this coffee. Yes, Dilip bhai.
I have questions.
Yes, please.
Before I go to Mr. Anshuman with my questions and comments, I'd like to mention one thing. Your window in this Google Meet and your father's window just below it. So I was looking at both the windows very carefully, and I was looking at Mr. Rath. He's sitting in one place without moving his hands and in your finger. He's watching you so constantly, like all of us. He's a really a great, proud father. Congratulations, sir. Your son has done fantastic job so far, and his career is shining like anything, and he will do all the great things for Odisha and India also. Congratulations again. Before asking questions, I was actually listening to you very carefully because I have a lot of interest in what is happening in startups all over the world, US, India especially. Especially new government has given a lot of opportunity to youngsters to start their startups and all those things, including other countries as well, especially Modi government. I carefully listened to you and caught few things on my eyes that, one attitude I liked about you is you are trying to make everything in Odisha, which is really great. Like Make in India, you're trying to make it make in Odisha, because Koraput is a place where you can grow, you can do the processing plant and then market in Odisha. And Odisha is a very good place for exporting if needed in outside of country as well. Another thing I do like to mention that, coffee, right? Coffee culture, as you mentioned, coffee culture is not there in our Odisha, Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand yet, compared to tea. Tea is our common, you will find, both the time, three cup of coffee, generally, pia hue. So since the coffee culture ta kehi special guest asile ame kohu ko ki bhalo sango fango misigri ame coffee stall re jaikari coffee piu. So that culture has to improve. I think you're working on it. And only thing is, if you reduce the price of a cup of coffee less than a tea, people will go, right? Person like me will go for coffee instead of 300 rupees for a cup of tea. So that is another thing. And your video is, I have seen that video before because Namita ma'am had sent me that one before. So a lot of processing happens behind the scene, which you don't see while drinking the coffee, right? So I think you have a lot of things to do in this whole process, starting from beginning that, all the farmers who grow there. So you need to teach them how to drive properly so that it doesn't get, different insects, or it doesn't get spoiled weather-wise or any infections CS-wise and all those things. Again, you have a big challenge competing with Karnataka. You did mention several times Karnataka coffee is one of the best coffee in India, even better than, I would say, Northeast like Assam coffee and stuff. We do get a lot of coffee beans from India, like Assam coffee and all those things we do consume here as well. But you have caught, very, backbone of the system, which you're going to grow very well. A few questions I like to do that is, I like to ask that is, why did you choose coffee? I mean, Koraput has a lot of other things too. Why did you find coffee to go with your career? I mean, coffee and Anshuman will go together like a train patri, right? Why did you choose coffee? Just curious. There are a lot of other things are there in Koraput itself.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. Again, thank you so much for the kind words. So coffee is something I'll be, there's an personal attachment with coffee because I realized what real coffee is very late in my life. So what my mother used to make for me was actually milk, which was flavored with coffee. And I thought that was coffee for the entirety of my life, which I think a lot of people, we realize that, putting instant coffee powder inside milk and add a little sugar, that is coffee. When I started working in a law firm, I was doing 12, 14 hours a night for a long time, sometimes, even 18 hours a day. And coffee was the way in which we could stay up and, focus. And again, there was the thing that, I didn't want to add too much sugar. I wanted to cut out milk. So one day I decided I will just switch to black coffee. It tasted bad, but, I was cutting out on sugar and I was cutting out on milk. So my tongue got used to black coffee after a few days. And that continued. I was drinking that, that whatever that coffee was. And I realized, okay, coffee is bitter. That is what I understood. In 2016, I will actually say I ordered coffee from one of these, that was the first time when roasters in India were putting out coffees in the market. So I ordered coffee. I didn't know what to do because I got beans and I didn't know how to make it. So I ordered an equipment. Then I ordered a grinder. And then when I made that first cup of coffee, I realized that is nothing like any coffee I've ever tasted in my life. So, that was the point where I started exploring coffee. And I've been ordering coffees from different roasters, from different parts of India, even some international coffees. But I didn't know Odisha produced coffee until 2019, when that Koraput coffee counter opened, and there were that stall was opened in Bhubaneswar, and I went and had coffee there. And that sort of triggered something like, this is a coffee. This is something that I've been passionately following. I've been ordering, like trying to understand coffee in very different ways, and here it is being produced in my own state. And people across the world and across the country, I mean, that's a very coffee is a connecting point for everyone. We go to a coffee shop to have conversations. We have coffee, and we also have conversations about coffee. So I think I thought that was a very perfect starting point for any particular business, because when you're doing something, I think again it's very important that you should be passionate about it. So coffee is something that I'm passionate about, and it comes into the work that I do. But going forward, again, the model that we have in place, I'll be very clear here. We are calling a DESI Agro Foundation. We are not calling a coffee foundation. So what we want to do is, we will of course start with coffee, but we will make a similar sort of a modeling for other crops as well. Because what is important and what our principle is, not just about empowering coffee growers. We want to empower farmers, not just coffee growers, but farmers in general. So Koraput has a lot of other, there are a lot of other producers which also need that sort of a support. There is a lot of cannibalizing happening from Andhra. People are coming and they're buying out. Very, very simply, lemongrass is being produced in Koraput. But there is no processing unit which does that value addition within Koraput. So it is being bought by people who from Andhra, who are taking it and processing it there. So there are opportunities to do a similar modeling in a lot of other agricultural product categories. There's sunflower, there is alsi, there is corn. I mean, Boriguma is a corn belt.
Nice.
So it's first is just understanding what can be done, and choosing a product that resonates well with you, and then maybe we can use the same model to enter into other other crops, or for that matter support other people to do something similar. I mean, without collaborative effort, I don't think we can uplift the ecosystem. So that's the long and short of it.
Thank you, thank you. You reminded me of my coffee drinking habits. Earlier, I used to, earlier days, like many years back, I used to have a Lipton tea bag, because I'm from India, and I used to drink tea morning and evening. So I used to use the Lipton tea bag. But now I'm fully with coffee. In my, another good way to drink coffee, I've seen people, and I adopted as well. So black coffee, they put it in a cup and then put it a little bit of honey, 1 pouch of honey, mix it. No milk, no sugar. And I've seen, and I adopted, as I said, they smell the coffee for a few minutes. Because it comes out, I have seen, take the coffee, go to the train, and boys and girls, they are smelling the coffee instead of drinking it. And that wakes them up, and then go to office and drinks the coffee. And as you said, coffee always helps for you and me as well, for 18 hours work. Without coffee,
absolutely.
Even my daughter who is in high school, she got used to eat coffee too, because she has to work long hours with her study and stuff. Another thing I noticed on your presentation is, you did mention about the agriculture product, which is tax-free and stuff. So Odisha government must be giving you a lot of incentives as well, or funding, or a lot of helps because of the Naveen Babu's government, right? I mean, not only your coffee business, but other business, what I have been saying. So you must be getting a lot of help from government. And again, all over the state would be very happy to have the coffee, having a competition, and warm drink with tea.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to hear from you about Odisha government helping you as much as.
So See, I'll be, it's not, I don't think it should be construed as being critical, but there are a lot of policies which are in place.
Yes.
The problem is there is a lot of, there are a lot of these conditions, terms and conditions that come into play. So I'll give you a very specific example. We've obviously received benefits. We've received a subsidy on the plant and machinery from the DIC. So, and that happened very fast. I think we, without obviously having to pay anyone any money for getting the subsidy in place. So that's a very big achievement. But what I've noticed, of course, is that, we have very good objectives, we have very good visions, and we have very good policies in place. But the execution part is where it is lacking, because like I'll give you an example. For getting a DIC subsidy, I have an electricity connection. I pay bills every month, which TPS-ODL issues in the factory's name. But when we went to go collect the subsidy, I had to give documents like the original agreement which was made, documents like whether it was charged there's a charge certificate. Now the whole point is, if I'm paying electricity, there is electrical connection. That it is logical. I don't need to give documents to show that at some point of time in the past it was that a connection was set up and it was charged. That's a little superfluous. But we've created these bureaucratic processes where it's difficult for a person who's doing business to also spend a lot of time running around with paperwork. So it needs a little streamlining. I would say the processes are in place, but a lot of streamlining needs to be done. For instance, like I'll give you an example. We want to do a registration with Startup Odisha, but they don't recognize a foundation as a startup, because they think that a Section 8, like a foundation, is not capable of doing a scalable business. So I'm actually trying to make a point that, we are trying to make an impactful business. We are not just, for them, a startup is something that makes money. And just purely money. So, trying to introduce the concept of, making money, not as much, but enough. But at the same time, pursuing impact model also can be a startup. So, that sort of thing. And very basics, a Section 8 company, the reason why it was created is because, I come from a law background. I have done hardcore corporate law. So I know a Section 8 company or a foundation is actually a private limited company, except I cannot pull out the profits from the company. The profits need to go back in for generating, more
investment.
Substantial. Absolutely. But they see when they see a Section 8 company or a non-profit, they start thinking that it is a NGO, which is not the right way to, look at a structure. So I face those challenges. There is if I had done the same thing, maybe in Maharashtra, people would have understood, because they're doing it day in and day out. Here it is not happening. Like a lot of innovative modeling is not happening here. So they'll take some time to get used to it. But whether there are schemes in place, 100%, there are schemes in place. In fact, we missed out on a particular scheme because we were in a hurry to set up the project. Because the process of the scheme involved us to wait before somebody comes and does a land survey so that we can start the construction work. And we were very clear that I wanted construction work to happen within 3 months. I can't wait for a person to come, do the land survey, and confirm that my project is ready to go. So those are the I mean, that's basically my experience vis-a-vis government policies and what we've been able to achieve out of it.
So basically, a little bit of tough to work with government. It is always there and has been there for many years. But I think it is becoming ease these days.
Absolutely.
Like you will go to the same office, and there are 100 people are going to the same office. So definitely, process would be smoother day by day. And again, online process is also coming up. I keep hearing about state of Maharashtra and Gujarat. They made it a process so smooth that because you need to focus with somewhere else, not in government offices in Cuttack or Bhubaneswar to make something get approved, right? Because you are trained, or you have a skill, or you have an education background to make something happen, not to run after the offices, every day and night and stuff. So I think it is coming up smoother and smoother.
Yes. I think with every year it will get better. A lot of it has to do with actual experience with the entrepreneurs and people who are interested in investing in the state. So I think when more of these interactions happen, I think the officers will also get sensitized and streamlined. That's how it happened in Gujarat. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the model everybody says has worked, and it is true. You find every industry in Gujarat right now, and what I've understood is nobody goes after you unnecessarily, that you don't have XYZ permissions in place, or you can't start business without having hundreds of things already in place. They are giving that liberty to the entrepreneur to start doing things. Of course, checks and balances have to be in place. That is very important, and that is the role of the government, especially from a pollution control perspective.
Yes.
You can't just indiscriminately allow people to set up industry without understanding what the long-term implications are. So that fine balance, I think it's something that will have to be developed over a period of time.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So,
That's all I have. I ran out of my questions and comments. All the best to you. And
Thank you so
if you
much.
happen to export your coffee to US, welcome to reach out to me if I can
For sure.
make use of that. Again, congratulations to your father also. Thank you so much.
okay.
Thank you so much. Thank
Sure.
you so much.
Anshuman, you have told in the beginning there is coffee mission. Do you have any interaction with the coffee mission?
So yes. So we are in touch with the department. So the coffee mission is being executed by the agricultural department, and they have in fact set up the ambitious 10-year target. This was just approved. Like it was approved in the earlier budget session, which happened in February-March period. So the fine details are yet to be released to the public, but we are in touch with the stakeholders to see how we can support them. We have in fact made representations to them to let us know how we can support, because we have been working in the coffee ecosystem end to end for good part of 2 years now. We have a lot of know-how and technical expertise that we are happy to share with them, and be some sort of a support partner, so that the entire coffee, the project actually is focusing more on improving coffee production. Our basic representation is that you continue growing coffee, but understand that 5 years later, when the coffee is produced and hits the market, there must be a place to sell. So I think it's very important to first understand your market, and then work backwards instead of just producing. Otherwise, you will flood the market with a lot of quantity, and that will also lead to a reduction in the prices that you are able to.
Yes, definitely.
That is the reason I was telling you have a good competition with tea consumers. So
Yes.
it is not going to be easy with compete with the tea, because our culture is with the tea. So you need to work on your prices at the end of the consumer, end of the customer.
Yes.
So as you said, you have to work with the backward. So 100 rupees per cup coffee, and then go back to your Koraput and farm, and how much the farmers are getting out of it. So that whole project plan, the supply chain thing, you need to work on that to make it competitive.
Correct.
Yes. And what about storing?
What about storing?
Yeah.
So our factory, in fact, if you see in that video, there are stacks of coffee available. So what we've done is we've set up an integrated coffee storage facility as well.
Okay.
See, interestingly, we've spent more money on the infrastructure, the civil infrastructure, than the machinery, plant and machinery. The reason being, Coffee Board of India has detailed guidelines on how to store coffee.
Yeah.
How much high you can stack the bags, what kind of bags you need to use, how much ventilation should happen, what should be the ambient temperature. So a lot of factor has to be considered before you make a storage facility. And last 2 years, we've also been monitoring that, because other than the normal thing about temperature and moisture, smell and all of that, there is also issue with in any place you will have damage by rodents, like your mouse, etc. There will be damages happening. So
5 to 10%.
Absolutely. So all of that has to be controlled. So what we've done is we've set it up next to each other. The processing unit and the storage go hand in hand. Yes.
Yeah. So what will be your advice to the youth? What should be the inspiration or the motivational speech, the last message to these youth people?
I mean that's how I started my this entire discussion, that don't be constrained with your thinking. Just because you're doing something doesn't mean you don't need to follow the herd in terms of where it is going. at some point of time that will lead to a lot of dissatisfaction in what you're doing. The advantage with us, I mean, this is something that we have to acknowledge, that our generation doesn't have to fight for our survival.
Yes.
It happened a few generations ago. They've taken care of that. I have a house to live in. If I have food to feed myself, I need to think about bigger. I can think about doing an impact because I didn't have to worry about that. If I continue to worry about the fact that I need to earn to feed myself, then I will not be able to think about the bigger picture. So I think that is very important. Different people are at different stages of their life. What they need to do is do an alignment of what they really like with what is again sustainable for them financially. You don't need a lot of money. I've seen, in Bombay, I've seen a lot of money. I've earned a lot of money. I've spent a lot of money, but then you have to understand that time and money, that balance also needs to come into play. You don't need to be working 14-16 hours to earn a particular amount of money and not have the time to live your life. So for the youth, I think what is important is just appreciate the fact that a base has been given to you, that you need to build from there. You don't have the same struggles as your parents. You have to think very differently that way, and not be constrained by the herd mentality. Like I said, the way I was able to just move from one area to another was because I had the conviction that because I did commerce does not mean I cannot do law, or because I did law doesn't mean I cannot pursue business. And because I'm doing business doesn't mean I only need to chase profits. I can also pursue impact. So I mean that would be what I would like to give people as advice generally. Like that's the only thing.
So car will be moved when the four wheelers, their wheels are aligned. So
Yes.
that is your message. So do you think that this four wheel within your family, who are they, or some friends are there, who are the motivators behind you?
So I think with my family, it has been very they've been very I would say very patient with what I've done, and that has been very important. I think they have not unnecessarily interfered when I made those decisions. After 10th, it's when you're scoring like I scored 92%, and the understanding was that he will be doing science because that was the conventional path. But when I said no, I wanted to do commerce, I didn't find a resistance within the family. They were accepting of it. So I think that is very important. They may not necessarily understand the choices that I'm making, but the fact that they've been patient with it, I think that has been the most important factor, and they've let my life take its course, and that is I would say you cannot force decision making onto other people. Everybody has a life to live, so just being patient and understanding where someone is headed has been very useful for me.
Sure. The final, it's not a question, rather I could believe it is a blessing from heaven. Your mother has given you enough courage to run the way through in a better way. And the patience you have taken, I know, it's really make you a champion in this life. And I feel proud of that. Now, we want to wind up this. Try to that. I'll request DIBYANSHU PADHI, one of the COF, the participant. He might be in the train coming back from Jharsuguda to Bhubaneswar. I mean, if you are there, DIBYANSHU PADHI.
Yes, ma'am. Namaskar, ma'am.
Okay. Without your
Yes,
chanting,
ma'am. Namaskar, ma'am.
can't end the show. So prior to that, I would like to request DIBYANSHU to enchant sloka on behalf of this webinar, so that Lord Jagannath will bless our, not only will say guest, but the young entrepreneur Anshuman to move ahead. So over to DIBYANSHU.
Namaskar, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakuti Samabhava Nirvighna Kurume Deva Sarvabhushu Sarvada Om Kachit Kalindi Tata Vipina Sangita Karbo Dabhiri Nari Vadana Kamala Swada Madhupaha Rama Samru Brahma Varapati Ganesharchi पदो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे महाम्बोधे स्थिरे कनकरुचिरे नीलशिखरे वसन् प्रासादन्त सहजबलभद्रेण बलिना सुभद्रा मध्यस्थः सकलसुरसे बाबशरदो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dibyanshu. He's on the train and he's very eager. He has written me, guys, I want to sing, ma'am. Yes, the blessing from this very small boy maybe, but I believe the Lord Jagannath is in heart and he is speaking on behalf of us, all of us. Now, I'll request Mr. Dilip Kha to propose a vote of thanks. Prior to that, I'd like to present the memento to virtually to our guest this evening, Mr. Anshuman.
So can I start?
Just a minute. This is a memento for Mr. Anshuman Rath, who is the co-founder and director of KDF Koraput, who joined here as a resource person. May I request to acknowledge this small memento virtually, Mr. Anshuman? Is it clearly visible?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. I can see it. Thank you so much, ma'am.
And one more certificate I would like to give Rita. Ritu, are you there? Okay. The certificate which you would like to present here. Ritu Barma, Imarti Devi Women's College Cutter, who joined here for the first. I'd like to request Mr. Anshuman Rath to present virtually this certificate. Later on, all the participants will get this certificate afterwards. Kindly hand over this to Ritu Barma with your blessing.
I'm not sure how I can virtually hand over, but yes, please accept this, Ritu Verma, ma'am.
She's a girl from +3.
Okay, okay.
From Imarti Devi Women's College.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
She's very excited to listen from you. Okay. And now it's time to listen from Mr. Dilip Kha.
All right. Good evening to everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Those who are joining in different part of the world, different time zone. I was assigned to deliver the vote of thanks. So here it is. On behalf of 187 National Webinar, title being Koraput Coffee, a Cherry Tale, organized by Rover and Ranger Unit of Maharishi College of Natural Law, I have the honor to extend my vote of thanks from core of my heart to Mr. Anshuman Rath, Director and KDF Odisha, joined as a chief speaker and resource person for his excellent deliberation. Professor MANJU PATNAIK, the principal and president of this webinar, must be given a high appreciation for her regular support to conduct such a educative live webinar continuously. Dr. KP MISHRA, the State Chief Commissioner, Bharat Squads and Guides, Odisha, and Chief Patron of this webinar, is also praiseworthy for mentioning the Rover and Ranger units of Maharishi College to conduct such a virtual meetings, not only for the volunteers of the state, but also spreading a new message to the countrymen. Of course, Dr. Namita ma'am, the moderator, is also deserve a special appreciation from bottom of my heart for organizing a different value-based virtual meetings involving both people from India and abroad. Last but not the least, to the respected viewers, I extend my sincere gratitude for sparing their valuable time to make this program a grand success. My best love and wishes to DIBYANSHU Padi for her contribution for enchanting slokas. Finally, I bow down my head to Lord Jagannath for giving me an opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. Thank you all. Over to Namita, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dilip Bhaiya.
No problem.
So nicely. Mr. A.K. Linka, do you like to ask any question, please?
Hello, ma'am. Namaskar. Namaskar to all.
Namaskar.
Actually, ma'am, mu eta share kariyaku chahuchi. Anshuman Rath, se mor classmate. Mane classmate nuhe, mo batchmate. Mu jebe padutili se topper thile.
Okay, plus 2 commerce. Okay.
Plus 2 commerce. Actually, I am in Revensa. तो मु परे भाबिली तांका सहित भेट हो किंतु टॉप 20 रे अन्य मानक सहित भेट होइतिला तांका सहित भेट होई नतला आज बहुत दिन परे देखिली आपण भलो सुजोग गोटे देले आ बहुत खुशी लागुची बहुत एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप रे ते आगु जाइछंती बहुत खुशी लागिला तांको देखि बहुत दिन परे थैंक यू मैम थैंक यू अंशुमान
Thank you very much. You can share this recording to your students and friends in Revensa. It's a very good asset for all of us.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Linka. Thank you. So, before closing this program and logging out, I may request all the friends, please unmute your video so that we'll have a photograph with Anshuman. Anshuman, here my teacher is here, Professor Rekha Das. Madam, namaste. He is the Director Vocational Education, retired from the last part of the 2012.
Thank you very much, Anshuman. So you are our proud son of the soil. And my younger brother is also working at DPS Damanjodi. So if time permits, I will visit your unit.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Everybody is welcome.
Location, your place in Koraput?
I will share it in the I'll share it with ma'am. I think she will
Yes, it will be well and good.
Madam is very dynamic. And she's sir.
She is a very right teacher. Actually, now I am a local Rotarian and I am working for the interactors. I am the chair of interactors of Rotary District 262. And so I am totally engaged with the society.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
She was there in BJB when I was a student in BJB.
Long back, I was in BJB.
1984. So thank you, madam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam.
Such a knowledgeable and intellectual talk you had given.
Yes.
Also, thanks to your father.
Yes, Advocate Ramapalam.
With a proud son. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's have a photo. Madam Pramodini, madam. Life member, Red Cross. Snigdha, madam. And all the friends, please unmute your video so that we can take a photo. Advocate Ratha, apananga photo da clear asuni. Sweetie. Special thanks goes to Sweetie Pradhan, my right partner. I have forgotten. She belongs to History Honors of Maharshi College, and she helped me a lot during this course of action. She did all the IT work in the background. Thank you very much, Sweetie. Now I'm going to close the recording. Then